Hello, and welcome to Stocks and Tarot. On this channel, we explore the world of finance through the magic of tarot, focusing mainly on the US S&P 500. For a while now, actually since the beginning of the 2022 bear market, I've been doing tarot spreads to seek guidance about the stock markets. It's been a particularly tough year for me, as it has been for many other investors, and I found that tarot gives me guidance and wisdom and positive messages that have helped me navigate through this troubled year, to say the least. And as I've done these spreads, I've taken time-stamped photos of them and I posted them on my Stocks and Tarot Facebook page. Now, I've done this to create a record of the cards and their messages for the exact moment in time that I did the reading. And for each reading, I've meditated on the spread, and I've also noted my intuitive interpretations. To me, it's uncanny how the tarot cards speak so profoundly and accurately to the current and potential state of the markets. I also thought it's interesting for this particular spread that when I time-stamped and posted on my Facebook on October 12th, the number 111 shows up in the bottom right-hand corner of the screenshot picture. That's very interesting, as 111 is considered an angelic and spiritual number and a sign that you're going in the right direction. But it can also mean abundance and happiness, and 111 is also thought to symbolize a fresh start, new beginnings, or a new cycle. Is that a premonition of some sort? A little synchronicity, perhaps? I don't know. I thought it was very interesting. Another interesting thing, the date October 12th, 2022, which is the day I did the spread, is a 10 or a 1 in numerology. And the numerology 10 is associated with the tarot card, the Wheel of Fortune. This card signifies change, growth, and new beginnings. And if you have this card in your reading, it means that you are on the cusp of a chapter of great things in your life. Things are about to get exciting. So, you know, that's very interesting. Ones and tens in numerology and in symbol, angel symbols popping up during this read. It was just kind of a little bit more of a encouragement, I think, from the universe in my mind. Now, moving on, for this, my second video, we're going to look at the tarot spread, as I said, I did on October 12th, 2022. Now, this was the day before the latest CPI data was to be released. Inflation and the Federal Reserve's need to hike interest rates in order to combat it have been the driving force of this current and very treacherous bear market. And the latest CPI data was sure to have a strong influence on the Fed's next interest rate hike decision. A lot of everyone in the markets is wondering how high they're going to go for the next blast of interest rate raises, and it affects the whole world and everybody. So it's important stuff. Now, the consensus in the markets was that if the CPI data showed that inflation was moderating a little bit or continuing to moderate, that would be very bullish for the markets. But on the other hand, if the CPI data came in hotter than expected, consensus was that the markets would plunge even further, and there's been chatter about going down to the low 3,000s on the S&P and 2,900. A lot of talk about those types of declines. Which would be, you know, another 10, 15, 20% on top of what we're looking at where we are today. And I think that's unrealistic, but there's a lot of chatter about that. Now, leading into the data release, the buzz was that the data was hotter than expected. That's kind of what the street was saying, and that was making the market sentiment even more pessimistic. So, you know, going into this, there was a lot of chatter that it was not going to be good. Now, be sure to stick around to the end of this video. That's where I'm going to give my final prediction based on this spread. Now, on to the reading. So the question I asked the tarot was, will the markets rally after CPI data is released on October 13th? And it was a very interesting spread. And let's take a look at the cards that I pulled. Now, there were 4 jumper cards in this reading. The 8 of Pentacles reversed, the 9 of Swords reversed, the 6 of Wands reversed, and the 3 of Pentacles. There was 4 jumper cards, and that's a lot. Normally I get 1, 2, 3 maybe. 4 is a lot of jumper cards. So to me that was a strong message was coming through. Now, as I mentioned in my last video, I consider jumper cards a very important element of the reading. For me, they help frame the reading and provide insight and clarity. As I intuitively interpret the spread, I'll look to the jumper cards to help interpret a particular card if the message is unclear to me. It kind of sets the tone, and it frames the reading for me. In this spread, the jumper cards spoke very much to the persistent inflation problem that's been plaguing the entire of 2022. They also spoke to the Fed's aggressive efforts to bring it under control. It's been a pretty tough year, like I said, and investors are impatient. So the jumpers really spoke to that scenario in my mind. So let's break down the meaning of these cards. So the Eight of Pentacles reversed. Now, the Eight of Pentacles reversed represents carelessness, overspending. Perhaps this is referring to all the QE, the quantitative easing that was poured into the financial system during the pandemic and since it started. That would be overspending, I think. The Eight of Pentacles also represents leaving yourself short of money and need to deal with matters before they get worse. Maybe the cards are speaking to the Fed taking extreme and aggressive actions to kill inflation before it becomes a much bigger problem. That's dealing with matters, that's for sure. The Eight of Pentacles reversed also represents financial weakness. It indicates taking swift action, but also taking careful action and being patient and ready to work hard. So, I think swift action, careful action by the Fed, well, I guess that's up for debate, but they think they're being careful. And we all have to be patient and ready to work hard and do the time it takes. So I think that the Eight of Pentacles reversed really speaks to that whole FOMC Fed inflation issue going on right now. Now, the next card that came out that jumped was the Nine of Swords reversed. Now, this card keeps popping up in readings and always in the reverse position. That's interesting. And now this card can mean a lack of resources, but it can also indicate recovery and coping, the easing of anxiety and clarity. And that comes up in every reading. So I really think that that's the direction the markets are going in. I really do. I think that we're going to see an easing of anxiety and recovery on the way, and not too far away. The cards and all the spreads I've done this year have kind of indicated that is around the pipe, around the corner, or coming down the pipe. Now, the Six of Wands reversed is the next jumper. And this, to me, means triumph is elusive. It means defeat in battle, failure, lack of achievement, financial loss. It means failed investments, a downturn in finances, going through trying times. Does this card represent? Is this speaking to the state of the markets right now? Is it speaking to the bear market of 2022? Because it certainly hasn't been a triumphant year so far, and that's an understatement. And then moving on, the Three of Pentacles. Now, this was an upright card, and the Three of Pentacles is a good card to have. It indicates collaboration, teamwork, working together, sharing goals, building on solid foundations, commitment, long-term plans, achievements, determination, efforts paying off. So those are all, to me, clearly are talking about the FOMC and working together, sharing goals, collaborating, making a long-term plan, sticking to it, and hoping your efforts are going to pay off. That's what they're doing with this inflation fight, and they're determined. So yeah, Three of Pentacles is pretty clear as to what it means in this reading, at least to me. Now, onto the actual spread itself. So those were the jumper cards. Now the actual spread, as I mentioned in the previous video, I do a 3-card spread. And the first card represents the recent past, the middle card the current situation, and then the third card means the near future. And in the recent past, the position, the card I pulled was the Knight of Wands reversed. Now this card stands for impatience, volatility, recklessness. It's an unpredictable card. The Knight of Wands reversed is unpredictable. It can also mean financial loss, and which is interesting too. It can represent temper and tantrums, You know, are we having a very long, painful, drawn-out taper tantrum for 2022 so far? Certainly feels like it. Is there really a better card to represent the recent past than the Knight of Wands reversed? I think it kind of says it all. Now, in the current position, the card that I pulled was the World card, and this is a really interesting card to pull because you know the World stands for completion, the end of a journey, achievement, making it to the end, fulfillment, and harmony. It could also mean that the world is at your feet, you know, and that's in the current position. I feel that this card speaks to the can also speak to the global impact that the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank is having, what their actions are having on the world markets and on the globe itself, and on inflation around the globe, and countries like emerging markets are struggling now with the actions that because of the actions that the Fed are taking to curb inflation. It's having a real impact globally. So the world card could certainly represent the global aspect of this fight. But I also think it signifies that, you know, the end of the bear market. I think that we're coming to the end of the worst of it. I think we're finding a bottom in the markets, and I think we're going to start moving upwards. The cards really indicate that in previous spreads as well, and I think that the world card in this position means that as well. So we shall see. Now, in the near future, the Knight of Cups is the card I pulled, and the Knight of Cups means good news is coming regarding finances. You know, so with the world in the current position and the Knight of Cups in the near future position, that's a pretty strong message for me. Good news is coming, and it's finances are going to be in an upswing, and it also means, you know, the Knight of Cups upright means being creative to achieve your goals, financial goals, and success. It can mean tact and diplomacy. Peacemaker. The Knight of Cups is a peacemaker. Financial decisions are paying off in a big way, is also what the Knight of Cups can mean in a financial reading. And, you know, maybe Jay Powell is going to toss the markets a bone at some point in the near future, saying that some progress is being made on inflation and on their efforts to slow the economy, and maybe they're going to take a pause. I said in a previous video, I have a feeling that November is going to be a transition month for this market, for these markets, and maybe that's what's coming down the pipe. But maybe you know, there's the cards speak to clarity coming out too, and balance returning to the markets, which is the next card, the Justice card. We'll get to in a moment. But you know, maybe Powell or someone from the Fed, or you know, is gonna make a statement that's gonna help calm things down and keep the peace and create some peace and some stability. That would be nice and appreciated, I'm sure. Now, moving on. I also look at the bottom of the deck when I do a spread, and to me, the bottom of the card at the bottom of the deck represents the foundation of the reading, and it also, to me, in a financial reading, speaks to the current market sentiment and the tone of the markets. And so, the card that was at the bottom of the deck is a very good card. It's Justice. Now, the Justice card represents keeping things honest and fairness to all. It speaks to balance and integrity, accounts being settled. It means it says money's coming in and the problems are going to be resolved. And it's a cause and effect card, you know. Cause and effect. You take actions to address a problem, and there's an effect. And what the Justice card is saying here, that it's going to be a positive effect. There's a give and take right now, and things are working out as they should. That's also what Justice means. Justice card means a fair outcome and more clarity, and seeing things as they are without emotion. And I think again, I think that this speaks to the FOMC, the efforts from the Fed. I think we're going to see some progress with their fight against this inflation problem, and I think it's going to cause some harmony and balance to be restored to the markets. I think justice is what the Justice card here is saying, and that their efforts are going to work. The FOMC, their efforts are going to work, and it's going to bring some. It's going to be a positive for the markets very soon. Anyway, if it is Powell balancing the books and acting with integrity and getting this fight accomplished, he will be rewarded, and that's what Justice is saying. So it also speaks to order, structure, and again, balance. And I think that that's going to be the foundation for the markets moving forward, and that is a very welcome thing. So we shall see. Again, the Justice card is an extremely favorable card in a financial reading, and it will deliver whatever you could be expecting. It's a good omen, and I'll leave it at that. It's a good omen. Now, when it came to this spread, as I had mentioned, I do an intuitive interpretation, and I post it on my Facebook page and keep a time-stamped record of the interpretation. And I go back and I see how things turned out. And my intuitive interpretation on the 12th of October was that we're not out of the woods yet. Still more work to be done on the inflation front. And as a follow-up, the CPI, this is before the CPI data came out, and it came out and it did show us that we're not out of the woods. It's exactly what it showed us. Although the headline inflation number was down a bit, the numbers came in still higher than expectations, and that was not a positive thing for the markets. And on top of that, the core CPI number showed a slight increase month over month. So this was definitely not the cooling down numbers that everyone was hoping for. So yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. And then back to my interpretation, I also wrote at that time, fairness will return to the markets. Again, speaking to the Justice card, I think the markets are undervalued at the moment, and this indicates a move upwards, numbers that are closer to fair market value. So I see a rally coming. So far, any attempt at a recovery has been stalled, but we're at the moments of new beginnings, and a new, more upbeat sentiment is just around the corner. Good news is coming, and patience is about to pay off. So I wrote that on October 12th. And who knows? Maybe moving into the near future, we're going into earnings. Maybe the earnings season, the latest earnings will be a catalyst for better things to come. Time will tell. So when you take a look again at the spread, the world and the Knight of Cups and their respective positions do indicate a new beginning and an upswing in financial fortunes, and good news is coming in the current and near future. So I think we definitely saw an upswing right after this prediction, because financial fortunes, we saw a historic rally upwards. So there was I saw a rally coming. I saw upswing in the financial fortunes, and right after the CPI data was released, the markets went down dramatically and then spiked and had a historic bounce and gained almost 3% on the S&P right after this data was released. So to me, these cards and my interpretation on the 12th was particularly prescient, particularly bang on. I saw the rally and it came. Now this caught the entire, this big bounce up right after CPI was released caught the entire market by surprise, and especially considering that the data was hotter than expected and it was not the good news the markets were hoping for. I think there were a lot of people out there that really expected a major climb down and closing at new lows right after, and it went completely the opposite and kind of caught everyone off guard. So moving on to my interpretation and my prediction, I guess. I wrote, the Justice card indicates that harmony is coming back. There'll be some diplomacy and give and take from Powell, and I think in the near future, and he will give the markets a message that some progress is being made. This will have a bullish effect, and the markets will rally. So this is a very positive message for the near term. To me, it's consistent with past readings I've done, like I've said, and which have all drawn very positive cards for the market in the near and longer term. This current period in the markets has been historically bearish, and there are many who think that the markets will plunge to even newer, steeper lows, like I said. And these cards, however, are consistently saying quite the opposite. Inflation's coming down, albeit slowly. I do feel a rapid deceleration of inflation is just around the corner. So I think this is just the beginning of the downward trend, and once it starts to accelerate, it'll accelerate quickly, which will be very positive for the markets. Excuse me. A few big names in finance also think that we're going into a strong reversal and maybe even a melt up. Like 6,000 points on the S&P before we know it. I think that's a big reach, but there are folks out there saying it. So I'm not the only one that's saying that there's a big positive upward swing coming our way. Should, again, be really interesting to see how all this plays out. And Anyway, that's it for today. If you like this video, please help me grow this channel. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'll be posting videos regularly, and we'll include readings on the wall of worry, other financial events as they transpire. I'll do readings on important economic data and events as they come down the pipe. So be sure to come back and tune in. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.